Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Factorio Bob's Angels, episode 18, I think we're on now. So, this episode is kind of a follow-on from last episode. I kind of need to tidy up from the mess I made. I contemplated doing it in between episodes, but there was too much I wanted to do that I couldn't really leave out. So we're going to tidy up from last episode's mess and get bots actually producing automatically properly, because I left it in a state where it wouldn't work in the slightest. So we start off extending the basic electronic board production. I think that's the right board. I don't know. I can't remember all the names as there are so many. But we get this doubled up because we are going to be using a lot more of these, and hopefully once iron is sorted out we can start doing a bit more research. The other thing is we need to get the inputs of the various items needed to create bots taken from the correct places. So for these transistors, I take it off the end. I put the belt in when I don't mean to, and then I put in a chest in the wrong place. But yeah, so this line will be expanded in the future for the belt production, but there's always a couple I put on the end to put into passive provider chests, as the input of the resource is... how do I explain this? So you get way more transistors, number of transistors per items that go in. So the output will always be the bottleneck than the input. So you can always take some off the end and put them into the logistics network. The other thing we need to create bots is we need the electronic components in the logistics system. And to feed that entirely by bots would be a bit silly. So I need to put that in, which is, I believe, the thing we put in next, if I've got it in the right order. I think it is, yeah. So the next thing we're putting in is the transistor production. So these will just solely be for feeding the logistics network, because they are used in a number of places for the bots initially. But I'm thinking there's a couple of other things. But yeah, I don't want to take those off the circuit production, because those are feeding in a kind of correct ratio. So we don't want to take anything off there, because it will mess those from running smoothly. I also have a bit too much for my inventory, so we stuck down a warehouse back there just to take on the extra ingredients. But we need things like carbon and tinned copper wire for the electronic components construction. So we get that fed down. But yeah, we'll need a number of items fed into the system for the logistics robots and construction robots to create themselves manually. But we did take a blueprint of what we did last episode before we took it up, so that shouldn't be lost. The other thing we need to have fed into the logistics system are various wheels, gear wheels of all varieties, and bearings and pipes and whatnot. So I'll need to create a bus to at least feed that, which will then feed those items into the logistics system, because they'll use quite a large amount of resources. So it makes sense to have that produced off a belt and not use absurd amounts of power getting bots to do it. And that's what I think it essentially comes down to with bots, is having bots do a large number of jobs is okay. They've got a very amazing throughput in the later levels, but it's the amount of power they use and how often they have to charge. So that's my personal view on it. Bot unloading train stations are really cool, but the amount of power they use is pretty crazy. And the station is something I still need to build. I haven't come up with a design that I'm happy with, which is why I've kind of been avoiding it. Plus, we don't really have that much stuff coming in via train yet, so it's not a priority. But I want to try and do that in a way with loaders where it kind of filters the system. The other thing we're doing is finally putting in those underground pipes that I forgot to add last episode, which Third Me did notice. I put up a little piss take at myself, not noticing it, but we finally get that fixed. The oil is stopped at the moment because we're not having enough crude coming through, so that is yet another issue that will need addressing at some point. We do have some crude available on the map down in the southwest that we could build some rail up to. That's the most easiest place to obtain it. There's also some going to become available when we finally do the push for the sapphirite patches up in the north, which is going to be a pretty big Slayer episode. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times now. So we're working backwards a little bit. We get the requester chests put in place to say only insert these types of bots when the number of available goes below this point. So X for logistics and Z for construction, I think it is. I believe I've got those values correct. It's quite easy to cut those up. And I lay out the last bit of belts for the little production area. So this is where all the iron, steel, titanium, tungsten, nitinol, brass, that's where all the gear wheels, bearings and everything of those varieties will get produced. Bar the ceramic ones. The ceramic ones I kind of get a bit tired of it by that point in the game, and I just bot the whole process because I'm a bit lazy like that. And I just come down and get the brass brought forward. Now we've got some more belts, which are still very scarce due to the lack of iron, but we get everything brought forward. I don't know if this is the best way of doing it, and so this point on the map we look at that giant red blob. I noticed that last episode. Don't know what the hell it is. I think we look at it again. It's extremely worrying. It's a very big thick red cloud of biters. Don't know how that's got there. I think it's the pollution crossing the lake, which is causing them to spawn biter groups to attack, but for some reason they're not coming and seeking us out. Maybe the pathfinding is kind of broken and they can't find their way. So a big cloud of biters with rampant AI is pretty scary. I don't know if that cloud will one day be unleashed, because you'd have to have some pretty impressive defenses to stop a cloud like that, and I certainly do not have any kind of defenses whatsoever. So that's a bit worrying. I'm not going to go and look at that for a while. That'll be something for a lot later on, that we go and finally find out what that's for. So long as it doesn't suddenly unleash itself on us, that'd be quite worrying. But that's my theory as to what it is. I'm not going to go and look at it at the moment because I don't want to trigger any kind of attack. So I leave space for 4 assemblers of each kind. I don't really need 4 assemblers for gear wheels being produced at the moment. But yeah, that bus will get moved around quite a bit for various stuff. So we come down and get the power provided, and due to our proximity to the biter bases, we're now triggering the bases to send out essentially hunting groups. Because I'm nearby, they come out and hunt for me, which is going to start triggering attacks. So biters to the east are going to need pushing back if we don't want them constantly throwing themselves at the turrets. We move those defenses forward. I want to try and keep any gaps filled. We don't want a repeat of last episode. Was it last episode or the episode before, where we lost about 142 items due to my complacency? So we get the passive provider chests laid out for the various cogs to allow us to fully automate the production of Mark II logistics and construction robots. We bring back the blueprint, which I could put out manually, but then I'd have to pick each of the assemblers' production. So I put out a logistics chest with the items in for them to build it. I randomly pick it up to change my mind, and then I change my mind again. I'm in a fairly decisive mood. Indecisive was the word I was looking for. Mood in this episode. And I come out and place the requester chests, which we finally achieved just after the end of last episode. Just while I was having an inspection, the research finally finished for it due to the lack of iron. So we come in and set the various requests for construction of the Mark I and Mark II logistics and construction robots. It does take a little while because I'm still getting used to shiny bobs and where everything is in the lists, because it does move things around a tiny bit. I sort of think it's a little bit silly having the bots move the items like 3 squares over, and I start trying to shoehorn in a way of doing it with belts, and then I think, nah, screw it, I can't be arsed. Let's just do it the old request way and let the bots just move them over a tiny bit. Seems a bit lazy, but oh well. I could even get an arm to just pass it directly to the machines, but then it looks a bit weird. I know these items aren't really used anywhere else in the system, but hey, at least they'll be available in the system. But yeah, I get this laid out. Again, it keeps nagging me that, the bots have to move them like a few feet, and it seems a bit silly, but I'm just going to have to ignore it because I can't be asked to lay it out any other way where they're spaced around the machine and they pass it in, because it all look a bit funny, I guess. So now the problem with this is not all the resources are available in the logistics system for various reasons. Either they're not within range of a roboport, or there isn't a chest for them being passed in. So at some point I need to create a strip on the bus. So I was trying to talk about it earlier when we got interrupted by the big red cloud. I forgot that was going to pop up at that point. But we need all the items that are on the bus pass through. So in a minute I create like a strip of passive provider chests. Now I could use loaders to do it with circuit conditions or just a cap on the chest, but I decided to do it with 2 fast inserters, because later on the belts will always be faster than they can pick up, so there'll always be some getting through and some going into the logistics system. I know it's not the most accurate way of filtering what goes into the system and what doesn't, but I've done it before and it kind of seems to work well. And I put it nice and close to where the whole logistics construction area is going to be. I'm not sure exactly how long until we start creating that. I know it's sometime soon. I think we start trying to create the chests and everything for it. Yeah, there we go. We start building some passive providers to get things like iron, steel, all the stuff that's on the bus fed some way into the system. And it's placed nice and close to this logistics area because that's where it's going to be used the most. In fact, it's pretty much the only area it's really going to be used. But yeah, so yeah, here we go. We start laying it out now. So there's an underground belt with a passive provider in it and 2 fast inserters to feed into it, and a cap of 4 stacks. But later on, as the belts get faster than the standard fast inserters, it'll always pass some into the system and some along the belt. So it kind of works. I might change it. I just don't feel the need to use 2 loaders per belt that's feeding in, because loaders are quite expensive and I haven't really got much resource at the moment. So fast inserters are a bit cheaper and it seems a slightly better option. Although this is my first playthrough with loaders, and maybe it's nice to do it differently because this method I'm using now is a method I've always used. But for now I just do it for the resources that we need for the bot production. I haven't even researched being able to request items for myself, so I can't set it up so that any excess iron can be passed on to me. So I have to keep going and picking up stuff for underground belts and normal belts, etc. So we need batteries, we need circuit boards, aluminium. This all needs passing on to the system. We don't need brass because that's being passed up to there, so anything needing huge amounts of brass for wheels and stuff can be produced off that subbus. So we carry on picking the requests for Mark II logistics robots, because the 5 we have in the system at the moment are nowhere near enough, but we can help the system along a little bit and get it to produce a few more, and hopefully get up to that 50 mark where we may start hitting the filter condition that'll only feed in bots when they're actually needed, but we shall see. So I still run around grabbing a few bits and bobs from everywhere. We need some steel bearings for the Mark II logistics and construction robots. So I get 2 ball bearing machines to pass into 1 bearing machine. I know that's still not enough to have it function 100% of the time, but I'm pretty sure we don't need that many because they produce pretty quickly. Probably quicker than they're going to be needed for a while. And we can upgrade that at a later date. I also put in an extra charging pad, as I noticed a logistics robot that's probably going to take the same route over and over a number of times will save him a bit of distance that he'll have to fly back and forth to charge each time he takes that route. So we come out and take a look at the defences, because these turrets are starting to run out of ammo again, and we push back a few biter bases to try and bring them as far out of the, let's call it the seek and destroy range. I think I'm going to start calling it from now on. So the seek and destroy range is where I'm stood close enough to biter bases to cause them to send out hunting packs. Let's call them hunting packs, I don't know why. But yeah, the seek and destroy distance. So yeah, we come down and clear some of these turrets because they're not placed in the most efficient way, and we can try and shift them forward a bit. And I clear this biter base in the process. This one gets assisted by other biter bases a couple of times. There was that crowd that just came down. One thing I've noticed using this Shure SM58 mic is I have to be a lot more conscious about how close I am to the microphone. It's a bit annoying. I keep drifting further away as I get more enthusiastic of what I'm talking about. The beauty of the condenser microphone that I had before was I could move quite a bit and it wouldn't really make much difference. Hopefully I'm only going to be using this microphone for a few more episodes. I'm looking at either buying a brand new condenser or possibly getting a second hand off someone, because I haven't really got that much money at the moment and I have a habit of looking at much more expensive things than I can afford. So hopefully we will only be using this microphone for a few episodes. Some people might not notice the difference, but it's kind of bugging me at the moment because I like to have good audio quality, so it's nice and easy to listen to. So we come down to place another RoboPort just to cover the last passive provider chest for the aluminium. But we keep getting attacked out in the turret area. It's rather frustrating. I take another look at the big red cloud because it is very concerning. I'm not sure how long it's been there, but I'm adamant that's being produced by the pollution spreading across the lake from the coal and Javolite mining. And the bleeping starts to get a bit annoying, and I have to come out and have a look and see what's going on. And I think these turrets here were just getting attacked at a funny angle and kept getting destroyed. Come and re-arm some of the turrets on the end, and hopefully that's the end of the bleeping. Another bleeping that starts to annoy me is the lack of repair packs. There's nothing for the construction robots to repair any turrets, so I try and get that set up. We don't have the most basic of circuit boards in the system, so I manually just feed it some for now, and I'll get that because that's not extended very far on the bus, so it's a lot of belt to get that to where the passive provider chests are feeding it. We head back down to sort my inventory out a little bit. We pick up a few more sniper turrets because we do have quite a few in this chest. Get rid of a few of some of the cotton candy or alien artifacts, and I just have a quick look through to see if there's anything useful at all, because we are pretty scarce on resources, and me putting stuff in there, I've been pretty lazy in the past. I just dump a load of stuff in there. I also come in and have a look at our Javolite supply. This train station really needs sorting out. So there's a growing list of major things that need addressing. I'm not sure what the list of priorities are, but they're essentially biters. It's a pretty big issue. Sapphirite, resources in general. I really need to sort out a proper supply of iron because the Javolite's not enough. And to get some pure iron, I'll need some sapphirite to mix with the Javolite. I'm not going to just do more and more Javolite sorting because we're going to have far too much of the other resources. I come and disconnect the iron to try and get that to buffer a bit because I can feel there's going to be a biter slaying episode coming on very soon. Maybe even next episode. Maybe I'll shut everything down and just devote 100% of resources to ammunition production. I come round and clear out any turrets that aren't needed anymore due to the last big push to try and get any of the ammo out of them and any turrets. I come down and check on the Javolite mining area because Javolite is our sole supply of iron. I also head over to the coal mining area. Now we've got a hell of a lot of coal backed up in storage, so I've made sure that train is set to manual. I believe I also set the Javolite train to manual because we have plenty of that also stored up, and I can just call the train up whenever it runs out. And hopefully that'll reduce the power use and pollution as well. And we also come and take these turrets out mainly for the ammunition because I think there's going to be a big push coming on. You can do it in stages. If I go out and do a bit of a push while all resources goes into ammunition production, I can spend the whole episode going back and forth. Like with the last biter killing episode, the only difference with this one, it's going to be played back at much faster speed due to there being a hell of a lot more biters that need clearing, and the fact that you've seen pretty much how I do it, and there's no harm in it being at 4 or 5 times speed depending on how long it takes. But I think I may do it for episode 20. Let's make episode 20 a biter slaying episode. But episode 19 can be me just getting ready for it. We can now put a permanent place of turret production in the this area here where the bot production is. This is now where everything will get produced that we need. I still need to put in ammunition, but from a belt. We don't need bots passing all that along. But that's going to be all we have time for this episode. I do hope you have enjoyed. So either next episode or the episode after is going to be biter slaying. I think we should say episode 20 and then maybe episode 30. Make it a thing. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully see you in the next video. Bye-bye.